Hi, welcome to the Business Class ESL Breakroom. We're a company of passionate language trainers and coaches. We're here to share ideas to improve our skills and strengthen the training community. Come in for some inspiration, leave with tips to apply to your sessions today. So, welcome to the ESL Breakroom. Today, we're talking about peer learning, which is a topic that's gaining a lot of traction in a lot of different disciplines and contexts, from academia to corporate training and, of course, language learning. So today we're here with Michael Shannon, who's a former business English trainer with us at Business Class, currently teaching in English and leading development projects at the Learning Center at ISTOM Agro Development School in Angers.
Peer learning is a self-directed, collaborative form of education. According to David Bood of Stanford University, peer learning is not a single, undifferentiated educational strategy, but encompasses a broad sweep of activities in which learners of any subject guide each other through targeted activities in order to improve their knowledge collectively.
So Michael's been experimenting with some aspects of peer learning, and he's here to share some of that experience with us today. We'll learn about what he's done and ways in which it could be incorporated into professional English language training. So he'll give us a taste of peer learning activities online, just to give you a better idea. So with that, welcome, Michael. We're really happy to have you here. So I'd love to let you explain away. I'm very curious.
Okay, well, thanks very much for inviting me. So I'm pleased to be here. Also to continue a little bit the connection with Business Class, because I spent a few years there, very enjoyable years. Yeah. I can honestly say it's a very good agency, language agency.
Yeah, we consider ourselves lucky to be there, so we're happy to have the family.
Okay, so anyway, so today we're here to maybe talk a bit about peer learning. And in fact, I started really kind of experimenting with peer learning at Business Class because I was, most of my students, in fact, and most of the students in business and companies, what they want is they want kind of to be able to speak, to practice speaking. So they have a lot of resources on internet for reading or for listening, or even for writing emails. You've got tools, you've got the kind of like online tools for translating, for writing. And for years, I've kind of, I was kind of doing training in company. And the problem is that it goes really well and people get a chance to speak. And then it depends. Sometimes people have maybe 10 hours. Some people have 20 hours, or if they're lucky, they have 50 hours, but it's very rare. And the problem is at the end of a training session, it's nothing that they kind of fall back and they lose the possibility to speak. And I think most training, what people want is the possibility to speak and be corrected in a way, and to have some feedback, in fact.
Absolutely.
So the idea was to kind of like how to kind of address the problem, that issue. And one of the ways of addressing the issue is through peer learning. So the idea is that during the program, that a student can kind of join with another student, can kind of match up as a pair with another student and continue practicing maybe for 6 months or 12 months after, via a series of speaking activities, which were kind of activities which are geared towards speaking, which would be online, which would be accessible. And that from time to time they would have a feedback from a tutor, or they would be followed by a tutor or by a trainer in the business case. So
there is some sense of structure. You're not just sending them off to chat.
No, it has to be structured. I think setting people off to chat works maybe for one or twice, but after they need some guidance, they need some structure. And in fact, the activities kind of structure, so they can you can set up a series of activities. So, for example, for a course, I would recommend 10 activities. Just to start off. So they would do one activity per week. But what I found is that people don't kind of follow automatically, one new activity each week. They will do one activity, and then maybe the next week they'll talk about something, or something they'll exchange or something, and then the week after. So in fact, 10 activities would probably last about 20 weeks. Because it's there as a resource, as a kind of support if they need it. But it's always something, it's not an obligation to kind of follow the activities. So that's the idea, is that there's no cost involved, because the problem with training is it costs. And companies will give you 20 hours, in a year, or maybe if you're lucky, you get 30 hours. And also, it's not necessarily individual. It could be in a group of 4 people or whatever. So you have less talk time. But if you have a pair, then you have maximum talk time. So 50-50. So that's the idea. The idea is to kind of like matchmaking, is to put 2 people together. And peer learning, it's simple. Okay, maybe it's not as efficient as having a trainer in front of you. But if you don't have the money to pay a trainer for another 20 hours, another 30 hours, then it's a very good option. It's a very good supplementary option. So the idea is that you have 2 people who are more or less similar level, who will kind of maybe take half an hour each week, just either by video call or telephone call, and just to speak for some speaking practice, and to use the activities where necessary. And also to ask for help. So in fact, the agency would act as a kind of support, and when necessary. But I'll come to that later. But the idea of peer learning, it's a bit like, for example, if you do a sport, you don't always play with the coach. You play with people at the same level with you. Or if you're music in a group, for example, you can advance together with amateurs, playing together, people exchanging what they know. And then after, it's good if you have a coach who comes in, or you have a kind of like a masterclass musician or something who comes in and gives some guidance. So the idea is simply that, is that people kind of be together and to kind of progress together from their own level, by their own level. So it gives them time to practice, time to speak, and a continuation after their lessons or their courses, their training.
Sounds great as well from the point of view of the intimidation factor. Maybe if someone is nervous or shy to speak, just having one partner of a peer of their level could be much less intimidating than coming to group. Sounds great.
So obviously, it won't work really for very low levels, because I think it's too difficult. And also maybe for high levels, maybe they don't really need it. They don't need it. And for me, what I found is it works kind of best with kind of B1, B2 level. So it's people who already have some kind of independence in the language, who already have a knowledge, and they can exchange, because the 2 people, they've learned different ways, so they have different types of knowledge. So they can also help each other. They can share what they know and progress that way.
Fantastic.
So that's basically the idea.
Okay. Now, may I ask, have you used this strictly after sessions have finished the training course, or have you used it as a complement as well to an ongoing training?
I've used it more as a complement to ongoing training, but the people have carried on after. So it's started during the training.
Right.
People have carried on after.
Great. I'm sure there's some great relationships that have formed as a result as well sometimes.
Well, in fact, I started at business class, but I think in business class I only had, because it was just an experiment. So if I can remember rightly, we only had 2 pairs at business class, and then I moved to Angers. And then I started with students as well, students who are going on Erasmus programs. So quite often they want to prepare for Erasmus. Some students who are going to Czech Republic, some students who are going to Estonia, where they'll have a lot of classes in English. And also we did also with two, I call them binômes in French. So it's like two twins or whatever, like, you know, between the staff of our school and another school. So they did, and they had friendships. They had they went for meals together as well towards the end. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah.
So socially, I mean, they're not friends, but socially, you know, it was kind of a nice thing. Yeah.
Sure,
they shared some experience between for a year. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay.
I think that's a great way to make learning fun and to make it important. The way we acquire language is when we deem it important to us to know, you know,
yeah.
a personal reason we want to get to know this person or, you know, this topic. It's much more motivating. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing about basically the peer learning, the activities is just it's to give an opportunity to speak. Yeah. Because also you have on the internet, you've got some platforms like italki, but there's a lot of demand for English, and in fact for exchanges. So quite often it's maybe not so easy to find someone to exchange with. Yeah, and also there's no set of activities. You know, you've got the option of maybe just exchanging with someone, but not having some kind of structured set of activities, which I think it's not necessary. It depends on the people, but it's very useful to have as a long-term kind of for progress.
I would agree. Absolutely. It gives them, and some people are less imaginative than others. And so it's a very efficient way of saying, okay, here, this is what we're doing today. And let's just work on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So so come back to maybe the role of the trainer.
Sure.
So the role of the trainer, in fact, is that they know their students. And they know it doesn't suit everybody. You know, you have to kind of like understand that peer learning doesn't suit everybody. And one of the big traps that I've found is that a lot of people are very enthusiastic about it at the beginning and go, oh yeah, that's great. I'm going to do that. Yeah. But after they kind of realize they don't have time, it doesn't suit them. Yeah. So really one of or they're not so motivated as they might have thought. Yeah. Because I think quite often people can jump at the idea, but then quickly, within a few weeks, they'll think, "Oh no, I have to do this every week," so they kind of drop off. Yeah. So I found it in quite a lot of cases, people would either stop or they would either kind of not start. They would say yes, but then not start the peer learning, or they would do one session and then not another. So it's very quickly at the beginning that it either works or doesn't work. And if it works, the people who they've followed for a year, so they've done it. And I think maybe the ones in Sergi, I don't know if they're still doing it or not. I've lost contact with them, but they continued to be in contact even after they did They did about 20 activities over a year.
Fantastic.
They continued to see each other and to exchange after. So it depends if people are motivated. So I think the trainer would needs to have people who are motivated, who really want to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also who will consecrate the time. So, and it's not a lot of time. In fact, it's a half an hour a week, but you have to do, if you're doing the activities, you have to spend maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes before, maybe a little bit longer, to kind of prepare. So you're talking maybe half an hour to an hour a week.
Yeah.
Which might seem okay at the beginning, but then after, when people, the reality of it, it's maybe not so simple.
Yeah, I think we've all seen that, right? With learners and with ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the kind of, so the idea is that you find people from different companies. So the other thing is that people in the same company, it's not necessarily because in a company, there's a lot of kind of relational issues, between people. So it's better. In fact, it works better if you have people from two different companies.
Yeah, okay.
And there's kind of an anonymity factor that relationally you're not attached. You're not in the same. There's no kind of fallout after if you don't get on or whatever, or if there's something. There's no other issues. Yeah. So the idea is to put two people from different companies together. And for example, we had one from ESSEC, one person from ESSEC, and one person from a company in the center of Paris. Mm-hmm. And they did I think they were the first to do the peer learning activities over a year. And every week, they both of them were really motivated, and I was their trainer as well. So as I was their trainer, the person in ESSEC had individual training, and the person in Paris was in a group. And so for me, the thing is the trainer is in a key position because the trainer they're like matchmakers. They can that person is a B1 there, and they're kind of like a similar age or a similar kind of interest to that person in that company as a B1. So the trainer is also in a kind of privileged position to be able to put people together.
Absolutely. That's fascinating. They didn't know each other beforehand. You were the one who said, I think you and you would go well together.
Yeah.
How did they respond when you offered this opportunity at the beginning?
Oh, they were quite motivated because I explained to them, clearly what was involved, and they were both. But I knew anyway before. I knew from their personality that there were people who were going to be serious and were going to kind of be motivated, to kind of make an effort for another person. So both of them really wanted and they needed it for their jobs. They were B1 levels, and they really needed it for their jobs. The one in ESSEC really needed it for her job, probably more than the one in Paris. But the one in Paris wanted it also for holidays and for to be able to kind of when they're traveling, to be able to to be better in speaking English. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that. The trainer is able to, for me, the trainer is in a position to be able to assess, if a student is motivated, serious, or that would suit this type of student. Yeah. Because for peer learning, you need to be motivated. Yeah. Because that, I think also you can exchange with other trainers to see, do you have anybody who's motivated in that? And at one point, I think in business class we found, because we had somebody from a company who was interested, and then we put somebody who was having individual training at business class. But she was very enthusiastic. She was kind of very extrovert, very enthusiastic. But finally, they didn't even have a first session. Yeah,
really,
because she was completely the person who was. In business class she was very enthusiastic, very kind of extrovert, like talking and that. But she was completely disorganized. And she wasn't talked through. And what I realized, in fact, even with students now where I am in Angers, I really need to choose the students. And if I don't know the students, there's a possibility that it won't work. And the problem here is that you have one person who is motivated, and it is a problem for example, business class. It's something that you need to be careful about because you have one person in a company who has been kind of promised this nice package, and and then another person who commits but doesn't do anything, but doesn't engage. So somewhere it looks bad for business class as well, if this proposition falls through. So this is something I think which is also a responsibility of of business class to make sure that the person, that both people are really suited for this type of exchange. Yeah, because when they're suited and when it works brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a level of commitment and maybe something written or agreed to that they won't let the other person down.
Yeah. If I was to do it again in the training, I would have a contract. I would have a peer learning contract. I would have it a lot more organized because at the time we were doing it, it was kind of just experimenting with it. So it needs to be. I think it really needs to be kind of like formally organized within the agency, within business class. Yeah.
Okay.
And also you also have other issues, which I didn't have, is also if companies are in the same sector, there's also issues about confidentiality. For example, these kind of type of things that you need to be kind of aware of. It's maybe less pressing. I think the biggest pitfall is people being enthusiastic at the beginning, but then not engaging, not committing. And I think this is a kind of what is important is the communication. It's a communication of the commitment that is involved in a peer exchange, because the person who is motivated is really disappointed when it falls through. Because they're looking forward to it. Yeah.
Those are excellent points, because we are in such a privileged position as trainers to talk with people from all walks of professional lives, and we do hear and see a lot. And the internal company information that's very delicate can be, and as well. Yeah.
So this is why it's better to have people from different companies already, because within the same company it could present some issues.
Right. Yeah.
But also, in different companies, it depends if they're in similar markets, or similar, or they have common clients or whatever.
Yeah. And I loved what you said about really laying out this as a structured program with a commitment, with a contract, so that they see this as another learning engagement, not just kind of fun, hey, add on. That this is.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people and trainers as well. Yeah, trainers are kind of really enthusiastic. They want people to do this because it's going to be great. So there could be also enthusiasm from trainers. Oh yeah, I know this person, it's great. But in fact, when you look a bit deeper, you need to communicate with the person who's going on. You need to explain clearly what's involved, the times involved, give them time to reflect, and then get them to sign some kind of engagement, and also get them to sign an engagement where there's a kind of like a get out option. Yeah. Where, after the first session the first session can be a kind of trial, to make it clear that it's a trial to see if it suits them or if it doesn't suit them. So that needs to be clear. And if that doesn't suit them, then they need to communicate that. And they need to communicate that to the person by email or to business class by email. Because sometimes you have people who just don't communicate. They just decide not to do it. You say, okay, you send them instructions to contact someone and they don't contact them. And then you contact them a couple of weeks later and you haven't contacted this person yet. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't have time now. It's a great idea, but I'm sorry, but I don't have time. Yeah. So there's a lot of issues at the beginning. Where it needs to be kind of the framework it needs to be kind of put in place to kind of make sure at the beginning that it kind of starts off okay.
Okay, and may I ask then, as far as the trainer, then how much of a time commitment is it on our part? How often would you then interject or check or give feedback?
Well, the role of the trainer, first of all, is the kind of like identifying people or saying, kind of possible people or students who would be suitable for this type of kind of, or who would kind of like, work with this type of kind of learning. So it's the first thing is kind of like knowing that it's available and knowing the series of activities, and also knowing the different levels that they can propose this to people who they think would be. So the first the first role of the trainer is kind of like deciding who is suitable or not suitable, maybe for this type of learning. So once it's set up, then basically the first 3 weeks are critical. So the first few weeks you need to be in contact by email, and only by email. You don't need any other contact. Yeah. You need to be in contact with both the people to, first of all, to ensure that they contact each other. First of all, to ensure that the first activity or the first meeting has been done, to get feedback from that first meeting.
Okay.
And then for the following, I would say the first 3 meetings, just to make sure they happen and to get feedback. Yeah. Once you're past 3 meetings, everything's fine. You can leave it for 3 or 4 months, and then you kind of contact again to see if it's if everything is okay. Yeah. But so it doesn't take a lot of time for the trainer. It's really the first few weeks that they need to kind of like follow it to make sure everything, and then after they need to just check that it's happening. So they need to send an email, I think maybe every couple of months. It depends how long you're doing the training for. Yeah. And then also what is important is at the end. So at the end that you have either a video call, and I think it's better to have some kind of like face-to-face contact rather than by email. Okay. Or even telephone, just to phone them. Just the feedback to see how it went, what they thought, and to get some feeling about how they progressed or didn't or whatever.
So, is there any correcting on our part at any point?
It's at the beginning. I set it up with 3 elements. So 3 elements. The first element was preparation for an activity, which they had to do alone, individual. The second element, this is for each activity. The second element was the activity itself, which involves speaking for the most part. And then the third activity was called, the third part, which was called consolidation, was some kind of form of return to in a written form or in an audio form, recorded form, to the trainer, and the trainer would give feedback on that for each activity. So the trainer, I used, I can't remember the name. Oh yeah, Kaizen. I used a platform called Kaizen, which it's basically like WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they can leave a recorded message saying what they did, or a little kind of summary about what they is, kind of follow up activity. Yeah. So what I found is that in adults, everybody, even students as well, that there are very few people who want to do the consolidation part. Uh-huh. So in fact, they don't have time, and when they do it, they quite often do it, in a hurry, in about 5 minutes or something like that before the deadline or whatever. So in fact, in the whole, and I think I've had maybe about 20. About 20 pairs. I've followed about 20 pairs, and of all those 20 pairs, I've had just one person who regularly gave me something each week.
Wow.
Yeah. And the rest would give me something from time to time. And it also puts a pressure on, especially professional working people. So it kind of puts an unnecessary psychological pressure on them. Oh, God, I haven't done consolidation. And then 1 week comes by, and then the second consolidation. I've got 3 consolidations to do. So in fact, it's counterproductive in a way. I found the consolidation part, the kind of obligation to have some kind of, is counterproductive, because really what they want is they just want an opportunity. They want some practice of speaking. They want someone else to communicate with, to be able to say something in English, mm-hmm. and to listen, to exchange, to communicate in English. And that's the principal factor. So for the rest, I stopped the consolidation part. Yeah, it's not necessary.
It's good
And
feedback on your
most
part.
people don't want it. Yeah.
All right. Just to say that you, as a trainer listening to this for the first time, you might be thinking, oh, but what's a program and we need to be involved. But what you're saying is very validating and very liberating. Like, no, they want to speak. So let them speak, and then they will get back to you when they really want correction.
Yeah, I mean, they'll speak, they'll be aware that they're making mistakes, but they kind of self-correct, and also the fact, I mean, this is what I say to people. If you go to another country, I mean, I'm sure the same. If you came to French. I don't know if you learned French before or what your level was when you came to France, but nobody corrected you. Yeah, you had to. You have to basically speak, make mistakes. You kind of learn by yourself. You're good. Maybe your classes. You go to some classes, but outside the classes, you have to show up. You have to speak. You have to kind of be understood. You have to communicate. So the very physical act of speaking helps you progress.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you don't need to be. It's a bit like a musician playing with, if you're playing in a group, you progress together, or if you're playing some kind of sport, then you progress together with other people, the same level as you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds really interesting. I'd love to see a little example of what this might look like. I know you've prepared everything.
Well, I think the first activities that we did in business class, they were basically just in a Google. It was just what do you call it?
A Google Sheet, a shared document.
Yeah, shared document. That's it.
Yeah.
I think I did about 20 activities out in shared documents, and basically sent them the link to the document each week. Yeah, that was the first one. So the first one, in fact, involved. So that was also that. The first one involved sending people a link each week. Because I didn't send them the whole program at the beginning. So the first, there was that aspect that I sent them, but it's not necessary. Yeah. And then the second, which is easy to do and which anybody can do, and if you don't know Padlet, I recommend you get a Padlet account and you use it because you can use Padlet.
Tell us, for those who are listening, I've never heard of it. What is Padlet?
Padlet is brilliant. And you can, I'll show you it now, in fact. So I'll share the screen maybe and show you the Padlet. But you can use it for different, this is just one example, but you can use it for different different uses. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes. Very cheerful.
Okay.
Right.
So this is a Padlet. Free accounts, you can make 2 Padlets like this. After, I think, for me, I pay, but it's not, I think it's maybe something like 30 euros a year or something like that. And then you can make as many Padlets as you want. And Padlets are just, they're just sheets like this, where you can, it's like Post-its. You could just post activities. You can post pictures, videos, well, I won't go into it, but you can do a lot of things, and you can just send the link of this, and it's just like it's like an internet page or whatever. You just send the link, and the person can just go onto the link, and they can. It depends on if you allow them to edit or just to read. For example, this Padlet, it's a series of activities, so it's just for people to read and to do the activities. And then each week, so they just, rather than sending, what I did in the beginning was to send one Google Doc each week. So what I would do, I would start off with a blank Padlet with just maybe the tutor pad, introduction. The introduction is just tell them a little about the, what's expected of them. So you can see here, I still had the consolidation part, but I've since abandoned the consolidation part. So there's just basically the first 2 parts.
Okay.
And so each week I would just add an activity. Okay. So each week I would, and so they just have the one link, And then each week they have a new activity which appears.
Okay, so just add on.
So yeah. But you can do a lot of different things with Padlets, but that's one example. So for example, for here, so the first activity is just kind of basically a presentation. So you're going to interview your partner about their life. So you just, so here I put, so that, in fact, this one I did out. Yeah. So here was just some examples of questions if they had some, if they wanted some ideas about what questions they could ask. Yeah, they'd have a different, you know, the past and the present. So they were gonna.
Great questions.
So it's just, you know, if they want, or maybe they, you know, so here it was just to kind of like think about, you know, think about questions. So make sure you're in a quiet space, have a pen and a paper to make some notes, interview your partner. So basically it's quite simple in instructions. So they just, that's their first activity, and it's kind of stayed the same. It's, well, it's evolved the format, but it's kind of stayed the same. And then the second activity, the first two activities, yeah, the second activity was getting to know you. So it was again more questions, but a little bit different questions, you know. You know, and here I've got, you just put I've got a video on YouTube. I don't know if you have the sound.
A little bit. It's a bit muffled, but I got the idea.
Hold on, I'll stop this screen share and come back out again. I'll put okay.
I asked that question to you right now, but also to our audience on Twitter and on Facebook, and they sent in their responses, and so we're going to talk about that. But I decided, why don't we actually test. If you wanted to find out as much as you can about somebody in the most limited period of time, what question would you ask them? I asked that question to you right now, but also to our audience on Twitter and on Facebook, and they sent in their responses, and so we're going to talk about that. But I decided, why don't we actually test it out? And so I'm going to use the questions you would ask to find out about people.
Okay, so I just kind of pasted in a video from YouTube, and then again wrote some kind of ideas. So the first preparation, and then the middle part is exchange. So ask the questions and then consolidation.
Fantastic. Okay.
And the Padlets are really easy to use, and you can just kind of stick things on like that, ideas. And then the next was more talking about the. So here it was a short biography about. And did I have that? A, B, okay. Yeah, so they have an A, B, so this is some pair work. So they have a short extract about Angela Davidson, or Davis. But it's not the business. So you need to check your links to make sure that the video. And here, for example, I pasted in some pair work. So the person who had text, student, and also you say to people at the beginning, you know, you're student A and you're student B. So you will have some pair work, not every week, but some.
Yeah.
And here they have two different texts, and they have some differences in the text, and they have to go through the text, ask questions to find the differences in the text. But this text was a bit long for that activity, in fact. Okay. So one of the feedback was that it was a good idea, but it was just too long. And in fact, since I've kind of shortened this exercise. So this is just a basic pair work, which I think a lot of trainers would probably be familiar with anyway.
Yeah.
And you can, so one thing you can do is you can just you can do, I don't know, a scan of a pair work activity. You know, you've got photocopiable pair work activities. You could do that, or if you know a different pair work activity, you can make up a pair work activity. You can put those in as well, which are quite good. People like that, just to vary the activity. Yeah. So I put in different activities, and the idea is also to have a kind of variation. You know, One of the things that worked well as well is it, I don't think it's here in this one. So here I put a tutor session in after the third, which was basically to join. And here I joined the two people for their session, just for part of the session, not for all of the session. Okay. But it's not necessary because I did a lot of things at the beginning, and in fact, it's not necessary. In fact,
okay,
you just get in the way.
Still, yeah. Okay.
And in fact, for the first activity, a lot of when I talk about students, and also the people. Normally, I recommended half an hour for an activity, and for this activity, people spent between 1 and 2 hours on a telephone or on a screen in their first. It's rare that they do this. The first activity that they'll spend about at least an hour, even if they're not very good level, because it's fresh, it's new, and then after it kind of continues a kind of normal level. Okay. So that's. Yeah, that was, so it was a Google Doc and then the Padlet. And the Padlet, anybody can make a free account in Padlet and use it. It's very easy to use. You have a lot of tutorials on YouTube. And I would recommend, because you can use it for different purposes, but that's another story.
Yeah, I have to come back to you for that.
Yeah.
But Padlet is great if you're not watching on screen with us. It's very colorful, so much more appealing than a Google Doc. It's
right.
Really attractive, so it does kind of make you want to stick around and look at the activities. Yeah.
But you don't have this. Is this not shared on? You're not recording this?
It is recording, but it'll be published as well as a podcast audio, so people have the option of watching or listening.
Okay. I see.
Ones we're listening.
I understand.
That's
I understand.
So. Yeah.
So after I've kind of made something which is a bit more reasonable. So this was made for the school in Angers. So this is for basically Erasmus people, but also there were 4 people from the staff who used this program for a year, and they really liked it and they wanted more, but I don't have really time to kind of make up more activities. So basically this is the first activity of a B1. So maybe I'll go back to courses. This is
a private internal platform. Is that what you learn?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is, I made this up for the school. So it's just for the school. So for example, you've got B2. So we call it the Dual Learn project. And so here we put in 12 activities, but in fact, I think I'll take the last 2 off. I think for me, 10 is enough for one course, and then you can give them a break. And then if you have made another stream of activities, they can do another stream of activities, but maybe with a different person, because you also, the idea is also possibly to have a kind of community where you could work with different people. For example, the first is a bit, it's the same type of thing. They've got some ideas for questions. They can ask, different questions, parents. And also this is for students, so it's not really business context. So they're talking about their background, their neighborhood. You would kind of adapt this for a business setting. And people like this, they spend for this minimum 1 hour. 2 people together, there'll be 1 hour, and most of the students have spent between 1 and 2 hours in this activity.
That's a good one.
And then in fact, the first 3 activities are more or less the same, but they're just talking about different aspects of their life. And they've got some, tell me about one of your favorite songs. So it's still in the same vein. It's just looking at different aspects. And then the last one, I've kept this video. Again, I think.
If you wanted to find out as much as you can about somebody in the most limited period of time, what question would you ask them?
And he's really fast, so I see that you have it at a B2 level, which is good, right? It's that guy.
Yeah, I think for B2 level, it's not too bad, and they can also they've got subtitles if they want.
Sure.
I asked that question to you right now, but also to our audience on Twitter and on Facebook, and they sent in their responses, and so we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised for B2 levels. I think these days a lot of people, because they're exposed to internet, they've got kind of quite good listening skills, but it is a bit fast. Yeah.
But it's good. No, I'm saying that's a good challenge, and yeah, they are exposed with Netflix. I find people are much more involved in listening than they were a few years back. Yeah.
And also you've got another link to if they want some ideas for questions, you've got a link to an internet site where they've got 100 questions. Yeah.
That's great.
So that's and in this one you've got the progress. So as a trainer, I can go in and I can see where they are in the if they've progressed, and also I get notifications and things like that.
If they've done okay, and that is what you set up on your Duo Learn, but in Padlet, I think most of us could be. That's completely independent, right?
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. So but that's something like even business class could set up. It's not difficult. It's just a kind of learning management system, where it's not so difficult to set up. Yeah.
Okay, I see. That's a WordPress-based system.
Yeah, WordPress. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there are templates. Yeah. Well, fantastic. It seems like.
I think. I hope I've maybe given you some ideas, but I think definitely Padlet, and if you want to kind of do it on a small scale, then you can do it with a Padlet, even as a trainer,
Absolutely, something we can set up ourselves, or even Padlet is useful in setting up our regular consolidation work that we put into our training sessions anyway. But it's a great resource. Yeah, it really makes things easier.
Maybe the last thing is haven't really explored. But this is that also you could set up some activities, but you could also do some kind of like one-off things. So we did a one-off thing. I think there was 2 companies from business class, where the resource manager. Basically, I did a visit with both of them. So I was both of these people's teacher. And it's the DRH manager from one company and a DRH manager from another company at Sergi. So they weren't so far up. Who basically agreed to visit each other's factory and speak English, welcome them in English, and visit the factory in English. Yeah.
Really? And you set it up, you facilitated
it. And also because they're the factories were like driving, I think maybe not even 10 minutes away.
Fantastic.
It's something that they wouldn't normally have done. They wouldn't have access, but because you've got access to both companies, then it's easy to set up. So you could do that. You could do that with company visits. You could say, okay, maybe you might be interested in visiting another company, but then you have to organize it with the company because they need time out and this type of thing. So it depends. And the other thing is maybe also practicing presentations or preparation for phone calls or something like that. It could be done on Zoom with another student or a group of other students who will give their feedback from different companies. So that's another possibility.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea. This makes me think of mastermind groups, kind of the collective conscious is better than one, and people together on a task-based, not just speaking English, but working on presentations. Yeah. That could be super valuable for a lot of our learners.
That could be also a kind of project for business class to set up that kind of peer learning community in a way, where people are available or make themselves available to kind of listen to someone making a presentation. And it gives the person giving the presentation the opportunity to practice in a real situation. Even if they're making mistakes, and even if the people who are listening are maybe not in capacity to give 100% feedback, they can give some feedback. And maybe not 100% in terms of the language, but they can give maybe some feedback in terms of delivery or whatever. Of
course, so, we're all professionals, and they're all working in French. They know in general, what's good and not great about a presentation. And that makes me think of, you must know of Toastmasters, the Toastmasters?
No, don't know, sorry.
It's the public speaking group. It's very old. It's a club, basically, and it's started in the States, but it's bringing people together to practice public speaking. And it's very established now, and you'll find a group in Paris. But it can do wonders. I've seen it do wonders for people's confidence, skill level, presence, everything. So and this is it. It's peer learning in action, actually, is what it is. So thank you. I love that those 3 ideas being the Padlet and something very structured with you, or a one-off company visit, or something targeted to a
I think one-offs are definitely kind of a lot more kind of doable. In a way.
Like a field trip, like we used to.
There's less commitment. There's less commitment to a one-off. If you're doing a series of activities, then you have to commit. Basically, you have to organize your time.
Right. Well, Michael, this has been super interesting and really inspiring. I think those are great ideas for all of us to consider other ways and offerings we can offer our learners. So I really appreciate the time.
I think it was a pleasure for me as well to come and share a little bit of what I've done.
Well, it's fantastic work, and I hope that it continues to bear fruit for you, and I'm sure it will give us all a lot.
And one last possibility that I just didn't think of, because also we're doing some work with the school, with some universities in other countries. Mm-hmm. And for example, the peer learning here, it's in French. So basically they're French speakers. But one idea for business class could be to find a partner in another country, in the Czech Republic or in Germany or in Denmark or Sweden or somewhere. And then you could have some exchange between people with different languages. And then they would have to speak English, basically. There's no.
Okay.
So it could be interesting to find a partner to kind of maybe set up a little kind of platform where we kind of exchange.
So how does it work where you do it? Those are other people learning English?
It's the same, that I enroll them into what we just looked at, the kind of series. And it's normally people who are going on Erasmus programs or who are preparing, for kind of Erasmus programs. Yeah. Okay. And they basically just, there it was by Skype. Okay. They just do the same thing, because it doesn't matter. I mean, it's telephone or Skype. It doesn't matter if you're in France or you're in Estonia or you're in the Czech Republic.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, these are all excellent ideas. And it's kind of opened my mind to thinking in new ways of how to approach helping people learn. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Have a good day.
All right, take good care. I'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us in the Business Class ESL Breakroom, the podcast designed to bring business English trainers useful ideas, inspiration, and conversation that motivates. Follow us on Instagram at business_class_language and subscribe to the ESL Breakroom playlist on Spotify, Deezer, or Apple Music for new episodes. See you next time.